Hello, Talkin fight fans around the world. Welcome once again to another episode of The Scoop featuring the champ, your friend and mine, Bola Ray.
How you guys
Well,
doing?
champ, I'm doing well. I'm sure our good viewership is doing well as well. What are we talking about tonight? What surprise do you have in store for us tonight?
Today is another segment within my series or ongoing series of forgotten soldiers that were instrumental in making the 90s such an action-packed and talent-dense decade for the heavyweights. And this episode is about an 88 Seoul Summer Olympic Games bronze medalist who ended up fleeing his native Poland to escape an assault charge and made his way to Chicago, where he met his wife, and, well, the end. Oh, yeah. There was some boxing. My name is Bola Ray, and this is The Scoop. Today I'm talking about a fighter that Mike Tyson took a page out of his book and biting somebody in the ring. Yeah, it was actually done a couple of times. But he didn't perfect it because this guy still won his fight. Born January 5th, 1968, in Warsaw or Warsaw, Poland, to an alcoholic father and a mother who just didn't have it in her to raise him by herself after his father had committed suicide, was none other than Andrew Golota. Young Andrew was nothing shy of a handful and constantly in trouble with the law, getting into fights and just angry. Just angry. Violent outbursts being common was suggested that he go to military school. And then the authorities sent him to military school. This is where he took up boxing. Going on to have a rather extensive amateur boxing career, it culminated with him going to the 88 Summer Olympic Games representing Poland in the heavyweight division. He ended up with the bronze medal. And not bad. Coco. 2 years later, now 22, Andrew Golota, the former Olympian, was at a bar where one Pietro Bialostocki. I'm not Polish, for the record. Thought it would be a good idea to challenge him to a fight. Yeah, what Bialostocki remembered when he woke up was, well, he woke up in a dumpster with two black eyes, and for good measure, all his clothes were missing. Now, the authorities then were back in Andrew's life, causing him stress, and he's up on charges of armed robbery. So Andrew did what he thought was a good idea and fled. He ran to Chicago, where he met his wife, and literally is living happily ever after. Golota often muses about the look on the police's faces when that they would be looking for him for an armed robbery charge, only to see him on TV fighting for a world title on HBO. He, yeah, he says, in Poland today, I'm a hero and a wanted man, he says while laughing. With virtually no command of the English language and very little context in the United States, Golota was able to connect with a legendary trainer, manager, promoter, Lou Duva. Golota was cruising along his career with a 23-0 record when he went up against one Samson Poya. Oh, the names today. In this fight, in this contest, the first 3 rounds were pretty much going all Golota's way. He even knocked Samson down twice in the 3rd round. Got 2 standing 8 counts, and he survived, and he took a good thrashing to finish the 3rd round. But then the 4th round came out, and it didn't even look like much of a punch. He got smoked by a shot in the middle of an exchange, and then that was it. Samson then unleashed at least 17 straight punches, unanswered. He battered the hell out of Golota. 19 unanswered punches. And the last, after the 19th punch, Golota was able to finally get him into a clinch. And then he bit his neck. The ref didn't see it. Nothing bleeding or anything. So the ref broke them up. Golota took another 6 more unanswered punches before he actually launched anything called an offense. The 4th round ends. And the 5th round begins with Golota back doing what Golota did, outboxed him and punished him. And this time he actually put him away. So he is the original biter, not Mike. Who knew?
Wow.
Yeah. This was the first glimpse into the mind of this Polish juggernaut. So for all intent and purposes, strike 1. His next fight was against another 88 Seoul Summer Olympic juggernaut or alumni in one Riddick Bowe. Now, Riddick Bowe was a big favorite with a record of 38-1, who totally took this fight way too easy and came in out of shape. When asked, why, Bowe? Bowe says, how can you go and train for a bum? Bowe's not my favorite athlete. Just an FYI. Those words came back to bite him in his ass. July 11th, 1996, they stepped into their office to do business their way. The fight was completely Golota's fight. He outworked Bowe, and he actually rocked Bowe a few times. He had Bowe in trouble in the 5th 3 times. It was nothing, but this is the big but. Golota tagged Bo low quite a few times. And starting in the first and second round, he got a warning. But the fourth round, Golota got points taken off. And then Bo was given 5 minutes to recuperate and doesn't use all the time to get a sound beating for the remainder of the round. Now, round 6, Golota gets called for hitting low again, and another point was taken off. In the 7th round and final, Golota was hit Bo twice, with the second one being a disqualification. And then, utter madness broke out. A complete riot where Bo needed to be escorted, carried out more of the ring, but it was more theatrics. Bo is just a bitch. You heard it? If he wants it, come fight me. This was seen as strike 2. I saw most of this. Yeah, it was legit. He did hit low, but especially the second time, he hit in this like the side of his leg, and I was just like, unless his anatomy's a little bit off, he's laying there like he just got stabbed. Like the theatrics was a hell of a lot better than his fighting. He's a bitch, but Golota deserved to be disqualified. He did go off and hit the guy low. Strike 2. Now, December 14th, 1996 is the rematch. And Bo looks to be in a much better shape this time, so he took this fight seriously because it was painfully obvious that the fat bastard was out of shape last time. And he genuinely thought he could just win on his aggression as opposed to having something called brain cells. Yeah. Round one was just, it looked like just a continuation of the fight before. Golota completely outboxed Bo, stinging him with his counter jabs and setting up his big long cross. Just, I didn't check to see whether or not his reach was longer than Bo's. From the outside looking in, they look comparable. Actually, Golota looked shorter than Bo, but it looked like from the success of his jab that his reach may have been actually longer than him because he was tagging him at will, and Bo was hitting nothing but air. Bo was throwing big right hand. Well, he doesn't throw a cross. He throws an overhand. He likes to throw those big overhand rights and then a hook, and it was just catching nothing but air. It was a clinic. Round 2 opens up with Golota knocking Bo down. That was the second time in his professional career that he had to actually touch canvas. And Bo makes the round makes the count, and then Bo receives an utter beating. Bo is beyond tired and nowhere to escape because Golota is right on him. In amongst the beating during the clinch, Golota goes off and headbutts Bo. Now, let me preface this with the fact that this fight is going to be talked about in a future show of mine in my view, one of boxing's greatest robberies. Most people are going to think I'm crazy because if you've seen this fight, yeah, Golota did some Golota-like things, but bottom line is, if he was Bo, I think that the fight would have gone on. Golota goes off and headbutts Bo in the clinch. Now, you have to understand something. Golota was giving it to him. He was just taking a pounding. He had just been dropped, and he took a pounding for the rest of the round. He got dropped early in the 3 minutes, and now we're going on to maybe the last 30 seconds, 45 seconds of the fight of him just taking a slapping, and he is gutted, utterly gutted. So what does the ever so honorable Eddie Cotton, the referee, do? Yeah. First, he stops the fight. He gives Golota a little talking to. You can't do that. You can't do that. And then he marches him into the middle of the round. And on his first offense, he deducts a point from Golota. First offense. Then he goes on to talk to Golota a little bit more. And then he has him box. What he thinks that the educated don't see is the very fact that he just gave his favorite, and I'll call it that, his favorite to win, because he wasn't impartial, 20 seconds to clear his head when he was in trouble. Because that fight shouldn't have gone very much further than that. That could have ended there. He was out. But so be it. Round 3 was now Bo's round. I didn't see this coming. Where he came out with guns a-blazing. He looked. It was the strongest round in both fights. He just came to life and was popping bigger combinations and actually landing them. The 4th round, Golota gets knocked down, but makes the count. But interesting observation on my part was that Bo caught Golota with 2 shots to the back of the head in amongst the combinations that he was throwing, which knocked him down, of which he didn't get anything called so much as a wagging of the finger. Not so much as a tisk, nothing, warning, nothing, no point, nothing. Those are called rabbit punches. Those are illegal. Those are worthy of at least a warning. Nothing was said. Not a stop in the action. Remember the stop in the action when he headbutted him, and when he headbutted him, I'm giving away too much information for my next episode, but wow, don't like this guy. Now, going into round 5, Bo gets knocked down again and makes the count, only to take a tremendous beating for the remainder of the round. The 6th round is another Golota round, but partway through the round, Bo gets caught with Bo gets caught with 2 rabbit punches from Golota in the back of the head on the way, and the referee stops the contest to educate, to give him a warning. Rabbit punches will not be allowed here, young men. Didn't say anything to Bo earlier. Has to say it to Golota. Like I said, 6th round was, 7th and 8th round was nothing shy of target practice for Golota.
Wow.
It was just, he was done. The 7th was such a one-sided bus ass that the CompuStat numbers had Golota landing, not all his punches, just a segment of his punches, where his power punches, he landed 43 power punches. Compared to Bo throwing all his punches in combination, 6 punches. All his punches. Yeah. In The round 9 was not as another Golota round where Bo was in terrible trouble taking a beating. And then with 7 seconds remaining in the round, Golota caught Bo with 2 uppercuts to his junk. And got disqualified. The argument for this disqualification was that 3 points have been taken off in this round, and that's what constitutes as, that's why he was disqualified. The argument for the disqualification was that 3 points were taken off, but the first round, the first one, was questionable. That outcome, I would argue that the deduction was neither ethical nor necessary in the first one. I don't know if he was paid off or he was just a little bit too patriotic, but it wasn't necessary. Another riot broke out while Riddick Bowe, the actor extraordinaire, laid sprawled on the canvas in dire need of, I don't know. He got hit in the groin, but he's sitting there holding his head. Yeah. In this was another epic riot. What I do remember from this riot, which I found incredible, was that you could hear George Foreman. You couldn't see it because the camera was fixated on inside the ring, but you could hear George Foreman, because his mic was still on, saying, "You don't want to do that, son. You don't want to do that, son. You don't want to do that, son." Only to find out that during this riot, Larry Merchant, the other color commentator, was standing behind him, and a mad mob came towards him, and George Foreman was punching out people as they're running towards the ring. "You don't want to do that, son." Knockout. "You don't want to do that, son." Knockout. "You don't want to do that, son." Knockout. I like him. He's got stones. This was nothing shy of sensational, and truth be told, the whole scenario was a bittersweet, bittersweet scenario, in that, well, it was in Madison Square Gardens, and boxing was not permitted in Madison Square Gardens again for another 3 years. It was banned. After that melee, they just banned it. But even though Andrew Golota had sustained a loss, like another disappointing disqualification, his stock actually went up. Because you have to understand something. The boxing public was not blind. They watched that. They watched him destroy the American Golden Boy in Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe was their juggernaut. He was a world champion. The big dance, the big question is, who was better, Lennox Lewis, the Canadian/Brit, or Riddick Bowe? Big controversy, all sorts of stuff building. Yeah. Only to see a nobody come and put a slapping on him. An absolute slapping on him. Not once, but twice. His stock went up a lot. And next thing you know, October 4th, 1997, his very next fight, Golota got his world title shot at least his first, against none other than WBC champion Lennox Lewis. In this fight, there wasn't much to report. First round, Lennox runs out and jumps him. 1 minute and 35 seconds into the first round, the fight is over. What the American superstar couldn't do in 16 rounds, Lennox destroyed in less than one. I think that says something. After this fight, Golota went on to have an amazing career with notable fights against the likes of Chris Bird, John Ruiz, and Lemaine Brewster, all for world title shots. He also stepped into the squared circle against the likes of Mike Tyson and Tim Witherspoon. He was an integral part in the playing field of the heavyweights in the 90s. Thank you, sir, for your contribution in boxing history. Like, he was a definite contributor to making that era arguably one of the greatest eras in boxing history. I hope you enjoy your retirement. And that's the episode. Now, if you like this episode, please subscribe, smash the like button, give Riddick Bowe my number, tell him I'm looking for him. Anytime he wants to dance, in the street even. But most importantly, hit that notification bell. It's your boy Bola, and that's the scoop.
Thanks very much. That was an incredibly entertaining episode, I must say. Two in a row, like 2 movies in a row, quite frankly.
Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, this is an amazing setup, if you will. If there's anyone out there with your ties to Hollywood, man, get in contact with us, because these are 2 great scripts in the making, 2 great movies in the making.
I'm telling you, it's almost as if like you end up feeling bad for him because he has some kind of mental blockage that he just can't not hit you low. But yeah, it did expose the great Riddick Bowe, the fat bastard. He got his ass whooped. He talks way too much, and he didn't bring much to the table that day, or both those days for that matter. So yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks very much, Ray. Appreciate it. And thanks very much. Good viewership for tuning in. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Fantastic. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.